morning. Well, I'm sorry about my English, so I have to read my notes a bit, but it will be okay. So I'm Olivier Caro. I was project manager at Samoa, which is a local public company acting as a development corporation for the Ile de Nantes project, and along the Loire estuary between Nantes and the end of the river. So I will first introduce where is Nantes, because it's a small city and I think you don't know where it is. So first, Nantes has been trying for 20 years to base its strategy on culture and urban renewal. I'm going to introduce you the Ile de Nantes project that aims at transforming the large former industrial and port areas into a new city center. By presenting the major realization of the urban project, I'll try to stress the key points of dialogue with cultural activities. During my presentation, I will also propose some other experience from my personal work or that inspire me. So Nantes is a French metropolis, totaling about 800,000 inhabitants, and it's located at the end of the Loire River. It's about 50 kilometers from the ocean. It's facing the historic center that you can see here, and the Ile de Nantes is these small places. It's about 350 hectares, so it's really huge. And it's used to be a privileged location for industrial activities since the middle of the 18th century. So as you can see, I will show you most of my presentation will be about the transformation of this part of this island. And the city center is just here, but you cannot see it yet. So it's facing the historic center, and it's now an exceptional and contemporary opportunity to extend the city center and thus limit the urban sprawl. If you have been in Bordeaux, I think Lorenzo have been in Bordeaux a few weeks ago, it's quite the same situation with the right side of the river, but the Loire River is very near from side by side in Nantes, so you are really near from the city center. The ambition of the urban renewal project is to create a diverse city, welcoming all types of population and urban function, including housing, economic activities, transportation, and so on. It's like every urban project worldwide. I think you have the same aims here in Varberg, transforming the harbour. It's a flexible and open urban project that adapts itself to accommodate initiative. I don't know if you can see, but in this map, you can see that some part of the map are really precisely designed, and other parts are not so detailed, because we don't know what will happen in 5, 10, or 15 years, and we are not so convinced that we should plan the city for 20 years. It's really difficult to plan for 20 years. So instead of doing this, we just design a map. The urbanist is Alexandre Chemetov. Designed a map with the main streets, the main public spaces, and try to explain what we should do and how the process can be conducted during this long time period. The urban project is about 25 years. We sometimes speak of negotiated urbanism. At the end of my presentation, I will come back on this point, which is really important for me. How an urban project is able to develop empowerment for inhabitants, for artists or economic actors, which attitude makes them the most able to take part in the city strategy. And this kind of map is a way to do like this. So you can discuss of this part of the project with an actor, and is not obliged to understand all the urban project, is not obliged to wait for all to be decided, and he can act directly discussing with the urban developer. And it's really important for us. So, first idea about culture in the urban project is to be respectful with the existing situation. It seems obvious, but we have to start with it. Here you can see, for example, the reuse of rails and pavement here to design public space, and it's cheap. You don't have to spend money to do like this, but it's a way to design and be respectful for the heritage of the city. You can also see in this part bridge pillars that have been kept in the project. This applies also to buildings. That allows paying attention and enhance the local heritage. It is also an economic attitude. The famous tabula rasa of Le Corbusier is very expensive. You cannot destroy buildings and rebuild the city on it if you don't have money. And in this kind of city like Nantes, small city, where the cost of the land is not so high, you cannot destroy building. So if you don't believe that it's important in cultural point of view, do this for money. Keep building. It is also for sure a cultural attitude. How to explain the memory of a site if you cannot see what it was 50 or 100 years ago. Here in Nantes, inhabitants are walking in the streets and they explain to children, to visitors, what it was. And they are proud to explain that there were shipyards here. And it's because they can help with what is around them that they are able to explain their city. So you have to take really care about what you are keeping with you and what you are destroying. Built from the existing isn't a fixed vision. Cultural heritage reuse aims to install new activities, and we think we try to install whatever in these buildings. It can be offices, it can be a university, it can be artists. The most important is how to make them part of the new composition of the city. For example, this, so it was the whole shipyards in the main place, in the main site, and they have been closed 20 years ago, and now they are converted to a large public place, and you can see we don't touch the naves. We just, I think, destroy one here that was really, how to say that, sick. So we destroy it. But the site needed something else, something more, that not only building conversion into a public space. We wanted this public space to be really exceptional. This is my first example of what we try to invent with the help of artists. The company La Machine, which work is performing art in public space, is working in Nantes since about 15 or 20 years with Royal Deluxe. Maybe you know the company Royal Deluxe. You know Royal Deluxe. And La Machine is leading by François de la Rosière. He was the scenograph of Royal Deluxe company. And they imagine a big mechanic elephant, a living sculpture, moving around the site. It became part of the project. Yes. It's quite amazing when you see it for the first time. And this living sculpture is moving around the site, as you can see here. And you can go to your office, walking just nearby, and in everyday life, you are confronted with this creation. It's quite unusual. It's okay for me, but yeah. And as maybe you can see in this picture, there are for sure tourists, there are inhabitants, but there are also people just having their all-day life in this site. I'd like to stress some key points about this project. It's not, I try to re-find it in my notes. It's different from a leisure park. It's free to enter this site. There's no barrier at the entrance. You can go it for free. If you want to go inside the elephant, you have to pay a ticket. But if you want, these people, they pay nothing to be there. It's the city. It's not the art in a space and the city in other space. They are all the same project. There's not two projects. There's one project. The second key points I would like to stress is it was a difficult choice, and it was a kind of risk to realize this project. Many people wanted to create a new art museum, contemporary art museum. We have the naves, and we will do the same like Bilbao. We will do the same like, I don't know which city you want to have, for example, but why not to create a museum? And this choice to be in public space, to be confident with a local artist, it was not easy, it was not obvious for politics, for inhabitants also. We have consultants that came into the city to help to decide what to do. And they ranked all the different kinds of propositions we could do in this site. And it was the last one. They all told us, no, don't do this. It's a bad project. Nobody will come in on to see this. It's not a good project. And we did this. And we are happy to have done this. Last point about this project. Urbanists and team artists helping each other have created something unique, but this way to construct the project help us to do something else with the naves. The fact it's a public space, you can use this space to a large diversity of projects, and it kind of accommodates to different kind of cultural initiatives and a wide range of actors. It's not only one actor, this company, that can use the nave. Everybody can use the nave and do its project in the nave. Here is a drive-in cinema, a festival dedicated to electronic music and visual art. And after 5 or 6 editions of this festival, it became a new construction that is plugged to the naves. And this is the concert hall that has been opened in, I think, 2011, something like this. We opened the cultural project and the park at the same time, and there were about 40,000 people at the inauguration day. It's exceptional, and I don't know urbanists or urban developer that have 40,000 people at the inauguration day for a public space. And it's also this kind of victory that we had with this alliance of artists and urbanists. There is no two projects but one. This project also shows the way culture can help to connect long-term vision and short-term action. The Elephant is the first creation of a program that follows the calendar and physical development of the urban project. It opened in 2007, and in 2012 we opened this carousel. It's about 25 meters high. You can see people here, they are really small. And we hope we can create this piece, maybe in 5 or 6 years. It's called l'arbre au héron. It's a tree, a metallic tree. It's 40 meters high and 35 meters long. And it will be placed in the new park that is created in another site of the urban project. It's really important, this fact, following calendar and physical development of the urban project. Another project, it's about the large area of Nantes and the estuary of the river. It's called Estuaire, and it's since 2007. It's installations created by local and international artists in Nantes and along the riverbank to Saint-Nazaire. It provides the opportunity to inhabitants and visitors to discover the Loire River and the diversity of the surrounding landscape. Nobody went to the banks of the river. It's not easy because there are industrial activities, there are factories, and also because there are no roads. You can go with a with a boat, but it's not like in Sweden. There are not many people that have boats because we don't have lake, we don't have islands, and so on. We'd like, but we don't. Maybe. So Saint-Nazaire is the harbor and the industrial city. It's that really end of the city. The ocean is just here. And Saint-Nazaire and Nantes are trying to have a strategy of development based on a global partnership. It was a technocratic construction. Only engineers and the mayors, the politics are involved in this construction. And we wanted something else. We wanted inhabitants to be conscious of the importance of this space, the importance of the nature, the importance of the environment. And we wanted that everybody could have an opinion on what to do about this space. And to have an opinion, you have to understand, to know a city, to know a space, to know what is this landscape. So we decided to create an event. It's a biennial event during 3 editions, and to install artwork in the landscape, and to construct a series of touristic trails that are linking the 2 cities. It is a political and touristic project aiming to accompany and stimulate the foundation of Nantes-Saint-Nazaire metropolis, and it's using the physical line drawn by the Loire River as the basis of a collective and global development project. You can see different artwork, all created in situ. Each one is based on a specific partnership. This one is Suite de Triangle, and it's artwork by Felice Varini. And you can see it's an anamorphosis, and you only can see it from a single point of view on a roof of a former naval base in the harbor of Saint-Nazaire. The artwork has needed the help of the different industrial actors. You know, this building is part of the artwork. This building is also part of the artwork, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And the aim of the artwork was to involve industrial actors in the transformation of the landscape of the harbor. and to make them be part of the transformation of the city and be part of a work with an artist and transform their point of view. And it's the way to involve industrial actors in political strategy. A second artwork. This one is Le Jardin Étoilé. It has been realized by Kinya Maruyama. It's a Japanese artist living in Paris. And it has been realized with students of the architectural school of Nantes and the children of the primary school of the small village where it takes place. It's really in the banks of the river, and I think the village of Paimboeuf, maybe it's 2,000 inhabitants. It's really a small village, and nothing was happened in the city, and it was really important that this large strategy, this big strategy, involve also the small places of the river, and not only the two big cities of the river, but also the small places, and that everybody could be part of this dynamic. Another artwork by Kawamata. It's an observatory, and it's in a place where there are biological diversity, and you can see it's respectful of this nature, and you can only go through and see je sais plus le nom. Anyway. Erwin Wurm, it's a boat trying to escape from a canal and to go to the ocean. He's not successful. He's always here. You can come in Nantes and see it. It's an house, and it's quite the same point of view. Is the house is detached from the board and trying to go away. Well, another artwork, it's by Daniel Buren, and it's this art piece has been the opportunity to accelerate the urban project. We first think we would realize this public space in 2012, and the Biennale, the first edition, Buren and Patrick Bouchin wanted to install their artwork at this place, at this specific point of the urban project. It's the end of the island at the west. And we decided to change the planning of the urban project and to realize this public space before, to be part of, to help people to go and to make synergy between artwork and urban development. It's the same with the small hut by Van Lieshout that is linked to the project of architectural school. This is the building of the architectural school that you can see beside. And this is the way to make people go into the architectural school and to discover it. And this is also a way to change the image of this building and to make it part of the city, and not only for students, for teachers, for university people, and so on. This attitude is not innovation, and you can see this kind of project in different places. Here is the really interesting experience of Naoshima Art Project. I don't know if you know these small places in the Seto Inland Sea in Japan. It's in Japan. And Benesi Art Site, it's the name of the project. Benesi, it's a foundation in Japan. Is the collective name for all art-related activities conducted on the island of Naoshima and Teshima, for more than 40 years. It's driven by economic sponsors, and they try to face the decrease of the population in the small islands by developing leisure and touristic activities through contact with nature and art. It started with Pritzker architect Tada Wendo and well-known artists as Nikit Saint-Phal, as Yayoi Kusama, that you can see here, or Dan Graham, George Wiki. And new projects are developed every year, and like the creation of Liu Fan Museum, I think it's 5 or 6 years ago, and also with the young generation or artists in development, emerging artists. In a second development of Naoshima art project, they try to reuse old buildings and old houses in the island and turn the spaces into artworks. It was a aim to weaving in history and memory of the period when buildings were used. And sorry, I have to try to find my notes. Yeah, a notable feature of the art house project is that because viewing this art piece, it means traversing a zone of daily life, entering house where you could not go, and it acts like as a catalyst for interaction between visitors and local residents. It's like an organic project that changes day to day, and it has involved to present a new model of community, and it's positive interaction between urban and rural, young and old, resident and visitors, and the program is changing like every year. They change the house they use, they change people acting in this transformation. There are well-known artists, James Turrell, for example, young, emerging artists. The Art School of Tokyo is coming, and this art house is driven by the School of Art in Tokyo. So I'm back in Nantes, and I try to explain a second part of my reflection is experimentation and transitional uses in the city. It's another former industrial site. It's next to the street from the nave that I showed you a few minutes ago. This industrial site closed in 2003, and it was like a black hole in the city, a fortress that nobody could enter. You can see that it's not really fun. And we first organized an exhibition with La Machine, starting point of their participation in the project. Here you can see a piano catapult. It's a piano. It's art. You shouldn't laugh, it's art. The success of exhibition made the decision to continue and to start the construction of the elephant. It was a way to prove that it's a good project and it's a good company. In France, we always think and rethink and discuss, and we try to act. Okay, you don't think it's a good idea. Okay, we try, and we will make a new meeting in 1 year, and we will see if it's good or not. And 1 year after, it was a good project, so we started the construction of the elephant. And it's really like this. We cannot always know before acting, so we try to do and then like a test. It was also the opportunity to make inhabitants come and visiting this former hall. That is really specific. As we did not know what to do with this site, we welcome micro-enterprises and artists who needed small spaces and prices and wanted to work collaboratively. Oh, difficult to say. They are not really big spaces, it's not comfortable, but it's cheap. It's not expensive. And artists, sometimes they have money, but it's not often the case. So we try to do simple places, answering this simple question: what we really need to have to work? What we really need? It's a good question to make the city. And it was successful. And we try to create new spaces from this experience. What we learn about this period and what could create an urban project from this experience was the question. I personally think it's important not only to show art, but also to create spaces for work and production. We need to make it visible in the city. Artists that are working and not only showing their pieces. It's important to have artists in work in the city. I think in Varberg you have residents about in May, I think so. It's a good idea. You have to invite artists working in the city and not only on stage like this. I'm not an artist, but okay. And you have to see handcraft, you have to see working places and not only artistic work, but also daily work like butcher or I don't know what kind of work, but in the city, you now only see offices, museum, shops. And it's boring city when you have only shops, offices, and museum. And we have to show something else in the city. And the artistic workplaces are an example of what we have to manage like diversity activities in the city. So it's very important to be careful with this question. So, this is the karting. It's a former karting track, you can understand. And we install modules of small office from 12 to 75 square meters. There are these small boxes here, and you can see the map here. And it's really low tech. They are not so comfortable, but they are cheap. It's about 150 euros per month for an individual office of 12 square meters. And we produce this building for less than 1,000 euro per square meter. The modules are, I think, 560 euros per square meter. Yeah, it's really cheap. But we need this kind of spaces. We not only need really nice building with, you know, the nice skin and technical construction, and low tech is also a part of the way you can build the city. Another place is it's a group of artists that wanted to create workshop spaces. They auto-construct a part of the project, and it was a way to lower the budget of the operation. And now they can have a space for, I think, 50 or 80 euros per month for a workspace. Oh, I don't know if you can see. Yes. All the buildings that are written is building where you can find creative activities, different kinds of activities. It can be for public, it can be workplace, it can be schools, higher education, and so on. And the way we tried to do this was to make like a climate, to make like a district, and to insert it in daily life. It gathers production, research, higher education, and you can see a private sector with this building constructed by a design enterprise, which was convinced that this diversity was good and decided to be part of it. Is rich. We don't want to choose between different types of activities or people. Even if it's a kind of creative district, like we can often read in the books, we try to have houses, social housing, industries. There's still Alstom Group in the district. To conclude, here is the architectural school. Here are different kind of building. Here is housing, social housing. It's the same building, but you have both. The same here. I think this one is free market, and this one is social housing. And this one is wood association, you know, enterprise who are working with wood industries, and they have an association and they made a building in the island. So to conclude, we need to think that urban projects are more and more processes and not only planning, and running cultural events but not only construct building. I was speaking of risk-taking. This concept of risk fits with the desire to invest in the future, the uncertain, the unpredictable, by having confidence in creative and artists. I must emphasize the importance of continuity for political governance strategies. You cannot decide something one day and do something else 2 months or 3 months after, because you think maybe it will not work. You have to be stable, to continue to drive the same direction, long time period. It's really important. Second idea, urban projects were defined by 2 terms, where and what. Where is the best place to construct my iconic museum? I think it's obsolete. And we have to think 2 new questions. And now the questions are who and how. With whom I want to do my project, and how can I involve them in this construction? And it's much more important than the question what and where. I think so. So it's important to get new methods for getting citizens, artists, communities involved in the project. What is the best idea, and what do we really need to start a collective project which makes the city move? Thank you. And sorry for my English.
Hello. You can thank you. I can believe many of you have more questions to Olivier. So I will first let you.
Du coup, je garde ça.
Even though it was very complete, but I think there is more to... I have one question. I can start. I just wanted to know, when you talk about these stable political decisions, that's one thing. But what I think was very special in Nantes is how did you work? Where did you work? From which position? And how was that organized? It's very practical, but I think it can be interesting for us here.
As I introduced myself, I was explaining that Samoa, which is the project manager society, is the local public company. It's a company created by the city. It's not services inside the municipality, but it's public local company. In-house company, they say, I think so in English, in England.
So it was, but you had the budget from the municipality? Or
there is a participation. I think it's €1 million per year. And the rest of the budget is the price we sell the land.
Yes. It's like the housing companies often in France, they function like that.
Yeah,
yes, it's like
quite the same.
And does it, in this company, does it exist? Did it exist from the beginning of the planning process or when?
Yeah.
And it still exists?
3 years after the creation of the urban project.
And when was that? The first?
2000, the beginning of the project in 2000 and the creation of the society in 2003.
So it's still working?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, my name is Barbara Ekström. I work with city development from the culture side in Gothenburg, and I find this very inspiring. But one of our problems in Gothenburg is that when we are trying to get people involved in projects in the test area, we want to try out some art space or something like that. When we make like an open call, you know, people from the art world and maybe some architect and students will come. But do you have any ways or ideas of how to get, so to say, ordinary people? I mean, like everybody who lives there. How do you know any secrets how to get them involved?
There's no typical answer about this question, but some keys. I think the question is, what is your proposition and how you formulate where people can involve and what is the question. When you are asking, like you were saying, open question, people don't know how to interact with you. And you are an institution. So it's complicated for a normal person to talk with institution. And I think in this kind of project, the big institutions have to find people, collective, association, that are connected to normal people. I don't think it's so simple to connect normal people with institutions. And you have to find operators, collectives that are creating the link between you and the rest of the city. But I think maybe Lorenzo will talk about this kind of, and you will talk about this kind of actors. And yes, it's really institution, the way they are networking, and the way people are different. Normal people have different kind of networks, informal networks, and the way you can connect informal city and formal city is really a question. But I think you have to find, je sais pas comment on dit en anglais, passeur. Ouais. Yeah. transpassers. That's the point.
Bonjour, my name is Linda. I'm a politician here in Varberg in the Department of Culture and Leisure. I think it's very inspirational to listen to what you've done in Nantes. I also think it's very interesting what you did with the old factory building, because we're talking about doing something similar here in Varberg. And just the fact that you made it very cheap.
Yeah.
You didn't redo everything, and that it's not dangerous to not have the very high. I think we're a bit afraid of this in Sweden. We need to have very high standard of everything we do. And I think it's very interesting because it's more creative to do it like this. But my question to you was, how did you find the finance to make the art trail that you did from Nantes all the way to, I don't remember the name, the different arts along the...
Yeah. That's why I show also this experience in Japan, because the pieces that I show you in Nantes and Saint-Nazaire were, for most of them, expensive artwork, because they are well-known artists and it's expensive. And when you install something in public space, the material can need to resist, and the climate in Nantes is much more easy than here. So it's difficult for you. But the budget is, I think, from 5 to 8 million euros per edition. And the half of this budget is private funding from the enterprises that are involved, engaged, installed on these places. And it's free. People can come to the tracks without any tickets or something like this. And it's, I think, 700,000 visitors per year in this track. So for touristic economy, it's an opportunity. That's why the municipality, the region, finance it.
Thank you. Next question.
Ici. Yeah. Devant. Ouais.
My name is Gustav Hellberg, and I'm one of the artists in residence in May. I just want to ask you, you said about this, you have to think, to do something like this, a project, that you have to continue with the project and go in one direction and fulfill every project. How did the local politicians deal with this? How did you deal with it over these years? Did they intervene and did they change? I mean...
One thing I did not say, but it's important. We had the same mayor during, I think, 20 years in Nantes. And it's easier when it's during a long period, because you can not easily change the city and make urban development in 3 years. It takes time. And it's quite the same to install a cultural policy. You cannot construct a cultural policy in 2 years and change from one side to another every 3 years, because artists, inhabitants don't understand you. And in France, politicians are really involved with cultural activities. Cultural budgets are public budgets and are depending on the cities, the region, so it takes a big part in the construction of the development. So the answer is we have the same mayor during 20 years.
Yes, but he was still mayor. There were elections, so he
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Like
Every 5 years.
so somebody liked or somebody
Like in every country.
yes, but somebody had perhaps the patience to
Yeah.
wait to see.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very important what you said, and it's really interesting with this short time actions. That it's a very good way to have a dialogue.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, you can convince or explain what you are going to do, and then you also see something's happening, because urban development can be very heavy when you like just pictures and words.
The mayor changed, I think, 2 years ago, and she decided, because she is a girl now, she decided to continue this strategy. So sometimes people change, but the strategy is the same. And I think because she was seeing that it was good for the city. Okay, thank you.
Then maybe I could ask you.
Yeah.
I went to Nantes in January and met the company you mentioned, the Royal de Luxe.
Ah, Royal.
Yeah.
The company I show you was La Machine. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know they started as a street theater group for 20 years ago, I think in Nantes, or I think so. But now they are working international, and they're working also in Nantes. How do you, could you explain how they are included in the development of the city, for the Nantes city?
I'm not sure of what I will answer you, but I try something. Long time ago, when you spoke about an artist, you were always saying where was his workshop, and it was important for the city. Like as we now say about an enterprise. And I think it's quite the same with Royal or with La Machine. They have, foot on the ground. They are acting there, trying, experiencing in their own city, and after that they are going worldwide. And they sell pieces worldwide, but it's important for them to have a place where they can experiment, where they can show for the first time and go fast for this kind of experience. Because for Royal to project his work in Varberg or in Berlin is much more difficult than in Nantes, where they produce their show every 2 years. Is that an answer for you?
Yeah, and they work in a factory, isn't it so?
Oh, so
it's from the city.
If we can go back to, yeah, thank you. I'll try to enlarge. La Machine that created the elephant. Sorry. Voilà, La Machine. La Machine. Yeah, here is the nave that we can see here. And it's like a street with a roof. Okay? But this nave are the place where they construct their realization. And when you go to the nave and take a ticket for the elephant, you can see the manufactory. And for me, it's really important that people see where and how they construct this machine. There are about 50 persons working every year in this place, with wood, and it's in the center of the city. It's not on the suburb.